God of wonders and God of grace. The Bible is full of wonders and miracles. And people are very creative. They can create all sorts of things. They can create robots that can walk and robots that can talk. But I wonder, I'm sure some of you are very creative too. I wonder who of you can create something out of nothing. In the beginning, everything. In the beginning, there was nothing. Everything was dark. There were no plants, no light, no birds and no animals, no fish, no people. Everything was dark. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God spoke, and there were plants, and there were animals and birds. Everything in the world was full of that. And it took a miracle to hang the world in space. And Isaiah 6 verse 3 says, "The whole earth is full of His glory." And God spoke again and He said, "Let us make man in our image and in our likeness." And Adam looked into the face of God. And God put Adam to sleep again, and He did the first surgery and created a beautiful companion for Adam. We are God's idea. When you look into the face of a human being, you will see His likeness. Some may appear to be distant relatives, but God has no cousins. He only has children. Sin came into the world, and today we live in a tragic, in a hopeless and a broken world. And worst of all, Satan wants to destroy us. We met some very good friends in Fresno. Their name was Art and Verna Moore. They were missionaries in Hong Kong for 26 years. You worked there in our hospital. And they moved later, when they retired there, to Fresno. We became very good friends, and we often visited them. And then when they got older, they decided to move to Paradise, where their son was a dentist, and we went to go and visit them there in Fresno. And I still remember it was in 2007, and the other day I came across one of their bulletins that they had in the church. It was so special to visit with them. Do you know where Paradise is? Have you heard about Paradise already? Let me tell you a little bit about Paradise. It's about 100 miles from Sacramento, or 180 northeast of San Francisco. And there have been approximately 27,000 people living in Paradise. It has largely been an Adventist community. We have a Featherview River Hospital there, and they are the largest employer of this town. They have 1,200 people that work there. Paradise also had the largest SDA school in the Northern California Conference, with 170 students and 18 staff members. This is our hospital there in Paradise, and this is also where Art worked. This is our school in Paradise. Wildfires are a constant presence in the lives of Californians. In 2008, many homes were destroyed, And 2017 was the worst season on record. Fire danger and precautions had happened in the past. But you know, life has always returned back to normal. It was a cold morning, 40 degrees. People woke up to a normal day, preparing to go to work and to go to school. Teacher Jason got up very early because he usually goes to school very early. He saw some smoke there in a distance, but he thought, oh, that's nothing. I've seen smoke many times. And then Alice got ready. She worked in Chico, just a little town south of Paradise. She got ready to go to work. And the children were getting ready to go to school, to learn and to have some fun. But on November 8, 2018, a Thursday, the most deadly world wildfire ever started to burn in Paradise. There was a terrible wind gust. The fire burned at a rate of 80 football fields per minute. 125,000 acres of land, more than 6,500 homes, and 260 businesses are all gone. Within 24 hours after the campfire broke out, all of Paradise and nearby town had burned to the ground. 85 people lost their lives, some inside and some in cars. They were trying to flee. This is a map of the wildfire. Can you see where it originated? And can you see the area that it burned? The winds that were blowing there? It was just a little campfire that somebody wanted maybe to make a little barbecue or something, and the wind caught wind and it just burned down. It was terrible. I want to show you some pictures. All the surgeries were on halt, and that was Steve. He had to have surgery that morning. He was so relieved. And this is David's parents, and they lived on the other side of town. He wanted to go to them and help them because his father can't walk, he's in a wheelchair. He wanted to help him and put him in a chair in the car so that they can go. But it was so congested. All the cars were on the road. There was no way that they could go out. And he called and the neighbor went and he helped them. It was a terrible thing. Every person just went. The hospitals were evacuating, the nursing homes. There you can see the cars, and can you see the smoke already? And it's still dark there. They are leaving town and they leave it as fast as they can. Can you see that smoke that was there? Terrible. A house is on fire, some more houses on fire. It must feel terrible. The cars caught fire, the cars are burning out. Can you see those cars? They were heading out. They couldn't go out. They had to jump out of their cars and they had to run for their lives just to be safe. That one car tried another route. Can you see the paint, how it burned on the car? This is what Paradise looked like. This was a week after the fire. Can you still see the smoke? These are the businesses. That is what is left over from them. And people were so glad that they saw their loved ones again. There were so many people missing, but they were all found. And it is such a wonderful thing. And even the dogs were very frightened of this fire. Some of the dogs jumped off the trucks. And you know, some of the dogs, one of the dogs, 101 days after the fire, he came back to his, people picked him up, and he smelled like skunk, so he probably survived by eating skunks. Shirley and Carl Greer moved into Paradise on July the 8th. So they lived in their home for 4 months before the fire came and it was totally destroyed. She was one of the people who helped when the people got donations and finding place to sit. She was one to help them. These people that were in the fire were the people that helped the other people. There were many Seventh-day Adventist churches that were affected by the fire. There's a Chico church. They had 759 members. 18 of their homes were destroyed. Chico Spanish church, 114 members and 4 homes were lost. The Golden Feather Church, 64 members, 19 homes were lost. And the Magalia Upper Church, Rich Church, 213 members, they lost 51 homes. The Oroville Church, 264, 5 homes were lost. And they lost property and jobs and everything. Paradise Church, 1,279 members, 1 died, and 90% of their homes was burned. The church was burned to the ground, and the K4 school building was destroyed. They stopped receiving donations because they didn't have enough place to store it all. They accepted gift cards and money. They received $120 and 449 gift cards that they could distribute among the people. Most of the people that lost everything were helping other people. Chico shared their church and their school with them. They said that they had received such generous outpouring from people who are close friends of people who are friends of friends of friends. And the pastor said, it is amazing to see how relationships support has the power to take the edge of a tragedy. Satan wants to destroy us because he knows that his time is short. But God uses people to encourage and give help to those in need. So many people came to help. The Loma Linda Academy sent counselors to go and help these children, give them counsel. The Forest Lake Christian School collected money so that they could buy jerseys and equipment for the children to go and have their things. Like Job, we don't always understand why these things happen to us. Joseph was his father's favorite son. And I know we talked about Joseph this morning, but our little Joseph is very precious to us also. Joseph's father made him a coat of many colors. He loved him very much, and that must have been a very special coat, because his brothers were very jealous of him. And then Joseph had those strange dreams that nobody liked very much. And one day his father sent him to go to take his brothers some food to eat. And he looked for them, and he walked for days. And when he found them, he was very happy to see them. But the brothers, they were not very happy. They wanted to kill him. They threw him in a pit, and they roughly pulled his pretty coat off him. And then the merchants came, they took him out, and they sold him as people to go and sell as a slave. And he thought by himself, I will never see my father again. In Egypt as a slave, he worked very hard, and he remained faithful to God. On a day, Potiphar's wife told a lie, and innocent as he was thrown in jail. And a great Bible commentator writes, for time Joseph gave himself up to uncontrolled grief and terror. He felt that he was unprepared to cope with the difficulties before him in the bitter, uncared for life of a stranger and a slave. In jail came the baker and the butler. Joseph made friends with them, and one night they had a dream. And Joseph interpreted their dream for them. Joseph asked the butler to please remember him when he is out. But you know, we as people forget very often what God and others have done for us. For 2 years, Joseph remained a prisoner. The hope that had been kindled in his heart gradually died out, and to all other trials was added the bitter sting of ingratitude. But when the butler forgot about Joseph, God gave Pharaoh a dream, and they had to go to the jail, and they had to go and get Joseph out. Joseph interpreted Pharaoh's dreams to him. Pharaoh made him prime minister of Egypt. Please note, it wasn't Pharaoh that made him prime minister. God made Joseph prime minister of Egypt. But God uses people to do his wonders. And the famine came into the land, and 10 men walked to Egypt to buy food. We know who they are. Joseph immediately recognized them. But they didn't have the faintest idea, and not in their wildest dreams could they think that that was Joseph. Now was the time for Joseph to revenge what they had done to him. What did Joseph give them? He gave them not only corn, but he gave them the greatest gift that one human being can give to another human being. He gave them forgiveness. The impossible possibility to forgive his brothers and to forgive people who want to kill you or sell you as a slave is not something that many people can do. Joseph said in Genesis 45 verse 8, "So it was God who sent me here, not you. And he's the one who made me an advisor for Pharaoh, the manager of the entire palace and the governor of all Egypt." All the bad things God changed for good. By the power of the cross, by the power of the cross of Christ, we can be unique instruments for others to be healed and have new hope. We all have obstacles in life, but God gives us opportunities, and He uses people. In the early 1960s, over 13,000 babies around the world were born with deformities as a direct result of thalidomide, a drug prescribed to relieve morning sickness. Alvin Law was one of them. In his case, just a couple of tiny pills were enough to cause him to be born without arms. I have sent you a WhatsApp this week for most of you. Did Alvin capitulate? No, he did not. With no arms, he learned to play the drums, he learned to play the piano, he learned to play the flute, the trombone, and also he used his feet to use the computer. Alvin Law was given up by his birth parents for adoption. Hilda and Jack Law, in their 50s, took in neglected and abused children. They loved and encouraged them to become special people. Alvin learned to use his feet for hands, and suddenly the world opened up. His teachers recognized his potential and his musical abilities. He got 96% for the test of how musical he is. He is an award-winning musician. He graduated high school and college with honors. He raised $250,000 for charities. He played in the X-Files. He was on many television programs, and he appeared in more than one Hall of Fame. We are all unique because of grace and wonders. We can never be faceless. We can tell the world that is falling apart, there is hope in Jesus. On a hill far away stood an old rugged cross. Its shame and reproach gladly bear. The cross of Christ is the greatest wonder. of all. He gave his life that we may live. The world is drowning in sin. We cannot save ourselves. It is only in him that we can live and have eternal life. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. And Jesus came to live among us. He became sin for us. He died, rose again, and that we can live and have life eternal. At the cross, Jesus makes hopeless people miraculous people, people of grace, not only wonder people, but people who do wonders and miracles for others. In John 3 verse 17 it says, God sent his Son into the world, not to judge the world, but to save the world through him. Oh, what love! What amazing grace! God of wonders, God of grace. God told Noah because of sin, he's going to destroy the world. God presented Noah with his great redemption plan. He said Noah built an ark. Noah looked forward to the ark. We look back to the cross. The cross is our ark. Sin wants to destroy us, but because of the cross of Calvary and the empty tomb, Joseph of Arimathea, we will live forever and sing, tell me the story of Jesus. Write on my heart every word. Tell me the story most precious, sweetest that ever was heard. God is a God of wonders. He is a God of grace. God is using people to do his wonders and miracles. It took a miracle to put the stars in place. It took a miracle to hang the world in space. But when he saved my soul, it took a miracle of love and grace. We were Lutherans. That's me sitting on my mommy's lap. I became an Adventist in 1962, which was a miracle. And my father agreed that I could go to Heidelberg College. This is our training college in South Africa. I met Gerard and he asked me to marry him, and we worked for, sorry, I wanted to go back, but it's too late. And one day, the principal of Heidelberg College came to Gerard and he asked Gerard to please go and study and come and teach at the college. So the place where we studied in South Africa to do postgraduate work, most Adventists go to the University of South Africa. It is a distant university and it has about more than 500,000 students. Gerard did his postgraduate work there and he passed all his subjects with honours. So the Department of Practical Theology asked Gerard to come and teach at the university. Note, he didn't apply for the job. They asked him to, and this is something that not really happens every day. It is a miracle because Adventists were regarded as a sect in South Africa, and we were not very popular there. It was a Dutch Reformed world, and Adventists did not belong there. Gerard was the first and only Adventist ever to teach in the Department of Theology. He did not apply for it, but they asked him. Gerard is an excellent professor. He was born for it. He was there for 17 years, and he is still today a contract professor. And all these 20 years that we are in the States, he had students that studied through him, did their doctor and master degrees. It is God and no one else who gave him this privilege that he could teach there. And because of that, the union decided, the South African Union decided that they would allow Gerard to keep his ordination status all these years. And because of that, we could come to the States. That was the only thing that they allowed us, how we could come and work here. God gave me also a very special experience. I was a principal at one of our schools in South Africa. I was the principal there for 18 years. And we were behind the church. Very small little space, but we grew and grew, and we were later 150 students in a small little space where we could play, and the rooms at the back were so crowded. We saved some money to buy a piece of land. One day, a parent donated to us a piece of land, and the money that we had saved, we could build a school. And you know, before we built the school, 3 years before that, I had an architect with us, and I asked him, what will it cost me to build something just like this that we have here? And he quoted me 3 million. And I thought, oh goodness, how will we ever get there? 3 years later, we built a school with 1 million. A big miracle, but God worked it. God did such wonderful miracles in our lives. Our life is filled with miracles. These are just a few.